If you make presentations, this is a must-have. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm checking out this. Really cool. This is the Kensington PowerPointer, and it's brand new. It looks like an Apple TV remote, right? But it's designed to work with Microsoft PowerPoint, and it automatically pairs and it automatically works with Mac or PC because the magic of it is in the bottom. You pull out and there's a little dongle. So I happen to have, just by coincidence, I have a presentation. So I, unfortunately, on this particular Mac, I need an adapter, which you'll have to supply separately because this is USB 3. So if you don't have a USB 3 port on your computer, and of course a ton of them do, then you will need an adapter. But that's all I do. I plug it in. There's no software, no drivers, no updates, no firmware, nothing to deal with, no install, no mysterious downloads from some third-party company. It's ready to go right now. So all I have to do is decide what mode I want to use this in. Yes, this is a modal pointer. So it actually has on the side, and on the back they have a convenient label, but on the side there's a 4-position switch. And basically, as you can see in this close-up, the topmost is on-off, and then the second is regular presentation mode. The third option is annotation. We'll get there, I'll show you that. And then the fourth one, and I'll do that one first, the fourth one shows you battery status. So on the side, I see 4 green LEDs, which tells me it's fully charged. How do you charge it? What a great question. You charge it by plugging a micro USB cord into the top, and of course it includes a micro USB cord, but basically it charges pretty darn fast. I got it up to a full charge in about 10 minutes out of the box, and then it is going to last for months. I mean, they just don't use much power. So I'm going to switch it from off into regular presentation mode, and then as you can see on the front there are 4 buttons. Let's start with the really big one, which is next slide, right? So I can just push next slide. I can use the little one to use previous slide. And it's really a great ergonomic design because you don't have to look. You can feel the big button has a depression on it, and then the small button has a little bit of a space pushing out. So it's very easy with your thumb to know exactly what you're pushing. And then the top button's super interesting. But before we get there, let me do the bottom button. Ready? Bottom. So why would you use that? Well, that's a good question. While I turn off the slides, let me talk about that question you just asked me, right? So that's what people do in presentations. They're like, so I've done my slides, let me just turn this off, and it's all from the remote, and that's the lower button that has the little profile, which is just a basically screen on off, again, built into Microsoft PowerPoint. Pretty cool. And then the top button's really neat because the top button is a virtual laser pointer. So you might not be able to see it very well, but there's a little red dot on the screen, right? And as I move the remote around, the dot moves. Now, you're thinking, when on earth would I do that? But people use laser pointers a lot, and here's where this is such a win. Because with a laser pointer, if I'm sharing this in a Zoom or Skype or Microsoft Teams meeting or something, then no one else is going to see my laser pointer on my screen, right? They're just going to be like, we're glad it's bouncing off of your glass. We see nothing. This will share because it's built into Microsoft, right? So it's built into PowerPoint. So if I use this pointer to highlight something on the screen, then everyone who's watching this will also see it. And remember, at such a point in time as you might be presenting to a room full of people and also broadcasting or something, simulcasting it, then everyone else will also see that. Such a cool idea. And that's where the annotation comes in. So now we slide it down 1, and I have to say, these are super Byzantine instructions. So just trust me that you just need to sort of experiment for a little bit to figure things out. And now the bottom button, if I just push it once, let me find my cursor. Let's see. Well, where'd we go? Okay, so my cursor's on screen. Again, I don't know if you can see that. It's right here. And then if I push the button once, it draws a circle, right? And then if I push and hold, I can then draw a line. So if I have something I want to emphasize, I can underline it. Obviously, this is the worst case scenario ergonomically, but normally I would be facing my screen, and then it would be very logical for me to be doing all these different gestures. Now, I have to be candid, is that until I realized it was a different mode, I was completely baffled about how to do the annotation. But once you realize you just have to switch back and forth, then it's pretty easy enough, and then you can go back on with your presentation. And of course, this is actually something you can save in the presentation. So if you're recording the whole thing, then someone can play the slides back and get all that annotation too. So in fact, let's maybe move this. Let's see, where am I? I need to go down to annotation, get my cursor, and I can do the same thing maybe down at the bottom. It might be a little easier to see. That's basically it, right? So it has, as they call it, pen mode. It has a digital laser pointer, no software, no hassles. It's a 15-meter or about 40-foot range. So you can be standing in the back of the room and pointing at your computer, and it's still going to work fine. And modern times, it uses AES 128-bit encryption between the dongle and the remote to make sure someone else doesn't hijack your presentation. That would be awkward, right? But there are people that are going to try to do those sneaky things. So they've already thought ahead, and they do have the encryption. So that's about all I got. You can see it is, a nice, small, simple device. It has that mnemonic on the back. Thank goodness for the different modes. You charge it off the top. The whole thing has a remarkably good feel. This is really by far the best presenter device I've ever used from Kensington. And I do a lot of talks and lectures and presentations, and this is definitely a real win. And because it works with the dongle, and there's storage for the dongle in the bottom, that means I can use this even if I go to an event and someone else's computer is already hooked up, or the event AV company already has laptops hooked up for everyone, which is often the case. I could still plug this in and immediately just go with my own remote with the way I want it to work. So really a big win. So really all that's left to talk about is the price. But before we get there, I'm going to ask if you can click on that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And give me some feedback. If you make presentations or do lectures or anything, what do you use to advance your slides? Or do you literally walk up to your computer and push the button? So this is really giving you so much more range and ability to walk around and go into the audience and stuff. So really a game changer, which then is, okay, how much? This is the Kensington PowerPointer with handy built-in dongle, and it's $49.99 at kensington.com, and I'm sure it will become available everywhere else, but right now that's the only place you can get it because it's that new. So check around, look for the Kensington PowerPointer, and if you're a teacher, if you're a lecturer, if you give presentations, game changer. Definitely worth checking out. That's all I got. I'll catch you in my next video.